If you understand this one chart, it could change your entire perspective on crypto. I honestly believe that this chart is going to make me $10 million by the end of the altcoin cycle. When I got this deep understanding of altcoins, it gave me a lot of clarity, and it also gave me a lot of peace. A lot of people in crypto, they don't have peace. They don't really know what they're doing. This is a sign of gambling. Maybe if the market drops, you don't have peace. Or maybe if somebody conflicts with your views, you don't have peace. These are signs that you're probably gambling. You have to be looking at this from a research-focused perspective, and that's it. That's what professionals do. So what I want to do is break down what I believe is the true altcoin cycle. And we're going to be releasing a full video on my YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe. I'm going to leave a link right here. Make sure to subscribe to my full video. It's going to be way more detailed. It's going to get really, really crazy. And what I want to do, because it's coming up soon, is really identify and characterize different parts of the altcoin cycle. We all know an altcoin cycle is there. It's real. It's not a lie. Now the question is, how does the altcoin cycle actually play out? And what coins are going to benefit from the altcoin cycle, right? So I want to dive into that on a deep scientific level. I like looking at things like a scientist so that you can actually figure out what's really going on from an unbiased, unemotional perspective. I always recommend people, when it comes to investing in crypto, to look at things like a scientist. Think about it. If the experiment goes in the wrong way, as a scientist, are you going to get emotional about it? No, you're going to continue to go through with all the tests to figure out the end result. So it's the same thing here. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the overarching cycle. So you see this big curve. Now, from what we've seen, this cycle is anywhere from like 7 to 20 years. So I believe the Federal Reserve, and the number is kind of irrelevant, but this is interest rate policy. So the Federal Reserve kind of controls the liquidity of the United States dollar. And the United States dollar is something called a world reserve currency. It's the only world reserve currency, meaning all other countries are subjected, they're under the United States dollar. So the Federal Reserve, I believe, essentially controls the liquidity of the entire world. And they have two different parts to its, controlling, which is the contraction, meaning they're deleting money out of the system. They're essentially making it less liquid. And they have the expansion, which is more liquidity in the system. Now, if you're asking right now, they're doing specifically the beginning of an expansion. It's the beginning of an expansion. So essentially, this is them dropping interest rates. They make it cheaper to borrow money. They made it cheaper to borrow money. So right now, they're essentially doing a expansion. So if I were to guess where we were specifically, we're like right here. So I believe there's going to be a steep fall, and I've been talking about this for a while. But long story short, the Federal Reserve controls all economies. So I believe there's no specific situations where the Federal Reserve is going down, bringing all the liquidity down, and the altcoins can somehow miraculously go up. What you guys have to understand is that just the stock market, only the stock market, is worth about $100 trillion. Cryptocurrency right now, with Bitcoin and all altcoins, is only $2 trillion. So, and that's just with the stock market. We're not talking about real estate of the world. We're not talking about gold and precious metals. We're not talking about any other financial instrument. So we're talking about thousands of trillion. I don't even know the number, right? Of how much money's out there in the world that the Federal Reserve has control over. So I believe, yes, altcoin stocks, every financial instrument is subject or under the Federal Reserve. And this is why it's very important to study the Federal Reserve. I study it more than pretty much anything I study, to be honest with you, when it comes to understanding the market direction, right? Understanding what direction the market is going into. So once you really understand that, then this gives you knowledge to where if we're in a bull run or a bear market, right? And so the next step is understanding the other two cycles. Now we have the Bitcoin halving cycle. I've talked about this a lot. You should know this if you're in crypto, but the Bitcoin halving cycle is determined, and that's the orange line in there. So I believe it's like subject to the Federal Reserve, right? So we have the Federal Reserve, right? Big one. Then we have the Bitcoin halving within it. Now, the Bitcoin halving is a cycle that is determined off the scarcity of Bitcoin. So what does that mean? There's literally a programmed incentive for scarcity. So they drop the amount of Bitcoin that is mined every 10 to 15 minutes. So let's say hypothetically you're mining gold, right? And let's say you're getting out, 1 ton of gold every day. That's a lot. It's probably a big mining operation, but you get the point. Let's say you get 1 ton. Let's say out of nowhere, like God says, instead of you getting 1 ton, you're going to get half a ton, right? So that's essentially what happens automatically through Bitcoin, through its algorithm. So its algorithm forces the issuance to drop in half roughly every 4 years. Not exactly 4 years, because that's not how time works on Bitcoin. There's a different time mechanism for Bitcoin. That's for future videos. But this usually catalyzes the market into a bull run. So when they cut the issuance in half, it increases the scarcity, right? And everybody's like, I need more Bitcoin because Bitcoin's finite. This catalyzes us into a bull market. That happened in February or April, I think. I forgot exactly when. But this happened recently this year. And this is why we've been experiencing a lot of price increase for Bitcoin and altcoins. But I believe that the altcoin cycle is way different from what we've been currently experiencing. So that within the Bitcoin cycle, I believe that this overexcitement. So what happens is people get really excited about Bitcoin and they start looking to the next best thing. So they start looking at altcoins. And we have an altcoin cycle. And this is where you see Ethereum, all these crazy altcoins do 100Xs. This is what I focus. This is all my time and energy goes into understanding the altcoin cycle. This is where I make most of my money. This is where pretty much everything happens in the altcoin cycle specifically. So this is right there. We have that cycle, which get catalyzed by Bitcoin. Bitcoin starts first. Everybody starts buying Bitcoin. And then they're like, okay, let's buy the next best thing because Bitcoin doesn't have that much potential. And then they started like researching it and understanding that altcoins also, can make you a lot of money and it's cheaper, like significantly cheaper. And there's more opportunity altcoins. And then people start buying altcoins. That's usually what happens. Okay. Now there's a third cycle that nobody talks about on the internet. And I believe there's something called altcoin narrative cycles. So within the overarching altcoin cycle, there's specific narrative cycles, meaning there's literal cycles that happen that are different from the other one. This is why you see, for example, AI will do very well. And I'm pretty sure you've seen this and experienced it, right? So like you'll see the AI ecosystem will pop off. Then you'll see the meme coin ecosystem pop off. These are narrative cycles. These are cycles that are driven within the overarching altcoin cycle that essentially drive ecosystems much higher in proportion to the other narratives. So this is so important because what you could do, and I've been trying to teach my people in the training, if you guys want to get access to that in my entire research system, I'm going to leave the link right here. You can go ahead and check that out. But in my training, I show people that you can actually cycle your money from one narrative to another. So, and I'm going to go into a full detailed explanation on my YouTube video. But long story short, there's beginning narratives and there's ending the market narratives. Usually the beginning narratives within the altcoin cycle are things that are a little bit more complex to understand, things that sophisticated investors understand, like DeFi, infrastructure, liquidity, things like that. And then towards the tail end of the cycle, the narratives are usually like gaming, NFTs, more cultural type stuff that's easy to understand. So this is these narratives. So what you could do is you could invest early, get like a 20, 30x on some type of early narrative cycle, then take that 20x, dump it into end and get like another 100x. And this is what I've been trying to do and show people for a very long time. It's real. And again, the most lucrative part, listen to what I'm saying, is the altcoin cycle. I just use all of these as reference points. I use Bitcoin as a reference point. I use the Federal Reserve as a reference point. But really, all of my time, energy, and capital allocation go into altcoins with good risk management. That's a whole another topic of discussion that you guys need to understand for sure, because altcoins are very volatile. So you'll get 100x's, but you'll also see the altcoins drop 98%. So this volatility, it comes at a cost and you got to be careful. So I have very specific capital allocation strategies to the altcoin cycle. So just understanding this one chart will change your entire experience in crypto. And nobody, from what I've seen in the past, man, I've been in crypto for 8 years. And I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of mentors. I've seen a lot of trainers come and go and things like that. Nobody has ever given me this type of clarity. What you guys have to understand is that there's a difference between random information on the internet and clear information. There's different types of information. I don't know if you guys knew that. There's knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Knowledge is now you have the knowledge of this altcoin cycle. Now, understanding is like, do you truly comprehend it? There's a difference between knowing something through memory, this is what we experience in school, and truly comprehending it. And then the wisdom is being able to apply it to something that actually gets you a benefit in reality. And a lot of times you'll see on the internet a whole bunch of knowledge, but you don't see understanding or wisdom. Nobody actually shows you how you can make money. And that's what I want to provide for you guys today. Thank you for being a part of my community. And if you have any comments or concerns, always send me a DM or whatever the case is. I love you guys. I'll catch you later. Peace out.